Welcome to Empowered by AI. I'm Michelle Muncie Silva. This podcast is for women building what's next and using AI with intention. In Season 7, you'll hear from founders, entrepreneurs, business builders who are redefining success, creating on their own terms, and moving with intention. We're learning from conversations about reinvention, identity, and taking action because every episode gives you ideas you can use immediately. Let's get into it. I absolutely love Trudy-Ann Armand. I'm just going to confess right now, professional crush on you. I super excited to have you back in the podcast orbit. And I want you to introduce yourself to everyone, share a little bit about you, and we are going to have the pleasure of just gaining from your expertise today and your experiences. So go ahead and dive in.
I am delighted to be here. Anytime you invite me, I will show up. So I'm Trudy-Ann Armand, and I help women take their current skills and turn them into a monetized plan B or plan A, because hey, there's no shame in making it your plan A. As far as my background, so I've been an entrepreneur for over a decade. I'm an award-winning entrepreneur. I've won a number of different grants, including Beyonce's She's Next, Visa, MasterCard, also pitch competitions. I've been in numerous accelerators, including Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. I'm a Goldman Sachs 1 Million Black Women mentor. I'm a business coach. I'm AI certified. I'm an AI educator. I'm an AI consultant and strategist. My academic background, I have a master's degree in training and performance improvement. So I'm always looking at things from that lens of how can I make it better and how can I help people to learn how to do whatever the thing is. So and I have two girls. I'm a mom. I'm a girl mom. I know there's a boy mom thing, but I'm a girl mom.
I'm a boy mom. I get it.
I'm a girl mom. And, I'm really, really passionate about serving women. And so, I get a question all the time, do you work with men? I do. But I really, really, it's my mission to help us to have, a plan B, which I know we'll talk about a little bit more. But that's, I think, me in a nutshell.
And I think that it is especially important that we understand a little bit about your corporate life before. I know you were doing both things, which I can relate to. It's like that entrepreneurial spirit isn't absent. So you were burning the candle at both ends for a hot minute.
Mhm.
I want to hear about your corporate life and that transition.
Sure. I think like many women, right? I got kind of guided into my career because people identified that I did a certain thing really well. And so I was handpicked for a project to implement a learning management system at one of my previous employers. And the chief learning officer, who was my boss at the time, said to me, this will be the project of what did he tell me? Project of a career. So I said, okay, sure. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I will do this thing. And so that it's a pretty big undertaking to implement a learning management system for for a large organization. And so I did that. And then I was hand selected once again by the same organization when they were transitioning the entire HR suite to this new platform. And so this one, though, I think it was 4 years. It took us to move it over. And so then I was told this is the project of a lifetime, which I think it probably was. But what that did for me was it gave me the insight into how systems work. The broader project was a system-wide implementation where we were doing, HR compensation and supply chain and all the other things, gave me that cross-functional approach. And so that I think is where I get some of my, ability to deconstruct things and look at, okay, how do they work together? And, what is the user experience and all of that? And so in my most recent role, I was at Spirit Airlines. I used to manage their corporate university. And so in that space, I also was responsible for a learning management system. And we were in the midst when Spirit shut down operations, we were in the middle of moving to a new learning management system. And so my team at the time, we had learning administrators as well as instructional designers. So I also have an instructional design background as well. So that corporate experience, and I was prior to the Spirit again no longer being there, I was also on the AI project, the AI implementation project. I was leading the learning, the adoption piece of that. So that's kind of where my corporate life was at that point when I left.
Yeah. And that vast experience, do you feel like there is something in that corporate life that still serves you today? Is there a particular avenue, a particular niche within that you feel like you brought with you and it is of service to you in your entrepreneurial endeavors?
Yeah, looking at especially the women that I'm working with now, looking at what is that corporate experience? What are some of the things that we can call from their experience? And because it was my experience as well, some of the things that are drivers for us, right? Feeling potentially not feeling seen or not being able to do the things that you do well or the things that light you up, some of those observations, some of those experiences are things I'm pulling on today, looking at, and then when I step back from that and say, okay, if my clients are looking to serve organizations, enterprises, what are those enterprises looking for? From where I said I had vendors that I would work with. We looked at RFPs and so on. And so I'm able to kind of put on that hat or, look through that lens and say, okay, if you are intending to market to or serve organizations, what would an organization want? What are the things that they use to filter vendors? What are the things that you need to make sure you have? And so it's kind of a combination of things, looking at it from the employee's perspective, looking at it from a leader's perspective, because I was a people leader. What are some of the things that I can use even with clients is how can I help motivate them? How can I help, identify issues where they may not be feeling seen or motivated or, so all of that, the entire experience I bring to the table today.
And one of the very first guests that I interviewed for this season, she talked about how important it is that we consider not flipping a switch, right? It's not, I was corporate, light got turned off, now I'm an entrepreneur. It's the idea of thanking that woman that got you to where you are today and bringing those experiences forward with you. I understand that from a standpoint of that wasn't a waste of time. That was
No.
building, that was skill building, that was emotional intelligence, that was that type of development that brought us to where we are today. But I'm also increasingly aware of the fact that there are certain liabilities in the mindset from employee life. And so that's where I'm interested, the flip side to what you just talked about. What kinds of employee life can become a liability to a founder? And I'm just going to get specific because right now I'm really looking at, for example, the reality of time,
Mm.
right? Because as a day job holding individual, we often had it as an intense profession that I'm coming from. It was regimented, it was scheduled. I knew when I was going to go to the bathroom, right? Like
Mhm.
I knew when I was going to eat lunch versus the freedom of creating my own schedule and the unexpected anxiety and overwhelm, right? It's like, wait a
Mhm.
minute. freedom sounds so amazing, but I'm actually finding that employee life where it was regimented, I was constantly reacting, things were thrown. And I think a lot of women that are coming from high-powered, high-level positions into entrepreneurial life, I'm wondering if this isn't a ability where it's like, wait a minute, freedom? What do I do?
Yeah. Well, I agree with you. I think I have a little bit of a different challenge, I suppose. And I absolutely agree with that. It's almost like, sometimes when people leave prison, they're like, okay, now what? I used, like you said, I knew when I was going to the bathroom and, all of that.
Yeah.
And so it can be a little bit, for me, the problem is that I have a lot of time, but I'm filling that time with a lot of work because I'm a bit of a workaholic and I tend to then do the opposite. I'm like, okay, how come, like you said, I have all this time, but I'm always busy. I always have something to do. I always have something I want to improve. And so I have the issue of making sure that I build time in to take a break, to take a breath, to do things that are not just work. And so there's a little bit of that. And I think one of the things that's really helpful is time blocking for both, your challenge and mine is time blocking out. Okay, this is the block of time that I'll spend on this. Then even if I'm not done, I'm going to do my next block of thing. And then something that someone that I heard, and it wasn't unique to her, but the eating the frog, right? Eating the frog first. Basically, the thing you loathe the most that's on your schedule, do it first. When you start your day, do that thing first. Because we, by nature, will avoid that. And like, yeah, I'll get to it. Oh, I'll do it later or whatever. No, do it first so that you can get it off your plate, you can get it done, and then you can move on to the other things that you have to do. So I really think that it is a different mindset. And I think the other thing too is, and this is something as solopreneurs that is a bit of a risk, is that everything is dependent on you. And therefore, your health, your ability, your inner drive, your energy level, it's all your ability to turn that, unless you create some kind of passive income, which is something else I recommend, is you need, everything is dependent on you. So if you get sick, things grind to a halt, right? If you just don't have it in you today, it grinds to a halt. So it becomes even more important for us to make sure we're taking care of ourselves because we are truly the engine in our business. And as I said, there are some risks to that, but until you create those, you mitigate for that risk, you need to make sure you're taking care of yourself, even if you really don't want to or don't think it's a priority, and you really are focused on that, that prize or that, revenue or whatever it is. You have to recognize that it is only going to be done if you're able to do it, and you have to take care of yourself in order to accomplish that.
Yes. And you transitioned beautifully into the fact that I feel I would be the worst host on the planet if I didn't talk to you specifically about financials, because I know that is so important to the work that you're doing. So, what did your transition to entrepreneurship look like actually financially?
So the benefit of doing both things simultaneously and having clients before you are offboarded, in my case, it really does help fund that transition. And this is something that, again, I suggest, I don't tell anyone that they need to go cold turkey, right? They need to quit that 9 to 5 so that they can go full fledged into their 5 to 9. Absolutely not. Your 9 to 5 can fund the more accelerated growth of your 5 to 9, if that is a possibility. And that is indeed what I did. I used my day job to help fund the structure, the underpinning of my business, being able to subscribe to things, being able to go to conferences, networking events, being in the VIP room of certain events, which, by the way, a dear friend of mine had suggested it may feel like a stretch to go to a conference and then opt in to pay, in other words, pay for the VIP. But that is where you meet the people. A lot of times, the decision makers, the investors. I did this when I went to Human in Tech in San Francisco. And in that VIP, that's where the investors are. That's where they're sitting quietly on their computer, returning calls, doing whatever, where you have an opportunity to talk with them one on one without all the noise. But you can't fund that unless you have clients and or that 9 to 5 to help you. So that really helps to accelerate your ability to even make that transition if that's what you're trying to do.
And there's a whole nother element, I think, to transitioning as well, in that I know for a family has been coming up so often in these conversations. And oftentimes they don't understand what you're doing. They don't know because God love I keep saying this, my beautiful boomer parents, they had a very clear idea that college led to career, led to pension, gold watch, all the things. And
Mhm.
so when you talk about entrepreneurial efforts, they're at a loss. And so I'm wondering, what did you do with that maybe well placed misunderstanding or doubt about moves that you were making?
That's a great one. So show them the money. Uh,
Uh, uh, Let's bottom line it right there. Clip,
you know,
done.
yeah. I think that was, and I hear you. And there is a lot of that, right? Until you, and sometimes, in all honesty and clarity, right? Sometimes you have to kind of hedge that until you can show them the money, right? Because it is well meaning, right? A lot of people are concerned about our well being and they want to make sure that we're okay. And, when you talk about doing this entrepreneur thing, sometimes people do have a difficult time seeing what's not yet there. And I think that's the beautiful thing about those of us with an entrepreneurial spirit. We see things that are not there yet and we believe in it and we start working towards it. And we have kind of this laser focus that we are going for that thing. But for those that are not there with that vision and that drive and so on with you, it is difficult for them to understand. And I don't like using the word hustle because I teach my clients that we're not doing this hustle culture. But for the interest of this statement, they don't understand the work and sometimes the focus and that believing in not what's not yet there until they see it. And so sometimes you just kind of have to quiet the noise a little bit while you focus and you drive to the thing that you're going towards. And then when you start getting those checks and you say, okay, so this is why I was doing this. And then they're like, oh, okay, now I get it.
Nothing makes more sense than the dollar bill.
Exactly. Exactly.
And what part of this journey do you feel is harder than most people admit?
I think the especially when, like I mentioned, you're the one with that vision and you know what it is you want to do. It's sometimes it's just keeping that fire lit and keeping that inner motivation to keep going. And I don't know people are spiritual or not or whatever, but with this work that I'm doing, each time I have an inkling of doubt, right? Am I going the right way? Is this the right thing? Is this the right mission? I get reminders. I give you an example. I have a client who, I asked if they are willing to provide a testimonial, and I had one particular client who had not yet provided one. And so I had followed up, hey, she had a baby recently, and so I know she's busy. I said, hey, just following up, seeing if everything is okay, and just a reminder, if you have an opportunity, please provide a testimonial. I woke up this morning to my testimonial. It is absolutely beautiful. And, that not to say that I woke up with doubt, but anytime that I have a moment where I'm like, okay, this is this going the right way? Am I doing the right way? Am I doing the right thing? Whatever. I get these reminders. I get random things happen. that point me. And so sometimes the thing that you can do, if that is one of the challenges that you have, is as I used to tell my team when I had a team, even before Spirit, this is something I would remind people who report to me: keep a 4 file. What's called a 4 file, because when you're rated on a scale of 1 to 4, and you get people will tell you, oh, you did a great job on that, or they write an email to your leader or whatever. Keep that. Keep that as kind of your library of places you can go to when you're feeling that inkling, when you're feeling doubtful, you just need a little bit of a boost. You keep that 4 file of encouragement and your reason why or whatever. And it can be filled with a picture of your child if that's your why. Whatever it is, you need something that you can go to reliably to pull from if you have that challenge at any time.
I think that's beautiful. I wish someone had told me that when I was going through. But now I'm let's take that and let's extrapolate that forward into the entrepreneurial life. You sometimes will experience a shift, right? You talked about that solopreneur being alone, and there might be some crickets. There might be some isolation. What does good business mean to you now versus the way that you originally thought it would be when you started this? So as you've worked through that isolation, you've worked through that to a place where you're now getting those testimonials, has your definition of good business shifted as well?
I'm not sure if it shifted per se. It might have evolved. So for me, I've always been really interested in doing things that feel right. And I don't know that I've ever really did things just because, except maybe in Amazon, right? People used to ask us, what do we sell on Amazon? We tell them we sell what's profitable. But even with that, we kind of shifted to creating a product that we believed in. And so for me, as long as I am aligned with what makes me feel that I'm doing the right thing, and that is kind of my North Star, right? So sometimes I get opportunities, people come to me and say, hey, we want you to be involved in this, or we'd like you to do that. And I really have to put it through that filter, right? Does it feel right? Sometimes the money is like, oh, that's a really nice number. But then I have to think about, am I going to resent doing it? Is it going to take me to where I want to go and where I see myself and where I will be proud? And if it doesn't, then I make sure I recalibrate. But and I think maybe that is where what's different, right? Is me being a lot more certain. That is my guiding principle, that I want to make sure that I am I can not I feel good about what I'm doing. I know that I'm making an impact. And if I feel like an offer that's brought to me, something that, someone a lot of times people are like, oh, you'd be really good at this. But is that something that I truly want to do? And I think it comes with maturity. So I'm, what is it? What does someone tell me? I'm seasoned, something like that.
Oh, I like
I'm
that.
seasoned, probably like
Rich with experience.
I was thinking seasoned. I'm probably like a jerk chicken at this point, but really well seasoned. But I think that's truly what I've come into. I'm owning. This is what and we talk about imposter syndrome and those things, right? What is it that you feel really strongly about? What is it that you know for sure? And those are the things that I think at this point in my business, my entrepreneurial journey, myself as a woman, as a person, that's where I am. And I feel really, really good about that. And I want others to feel good about that and be able to feel that as well.
And I know you said that your priority is women. And so I'm wondering, as we wrap this in a beautiful little bow, what is something you wish more women understood before they make that leap? Into full-time entrepreneurial efforts?
Oh, that's a loaded one because a lot of things are flooding to my mind. So, of course, the one thing is always the hardest, right? What is the one thing? I think the one thing is to know that you have the skills to do the thing. And again, that's really a very, I think, loaded question and answer, right? Because we have so much doubt that is thrown at us. And, sometimes it's intentional, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's things that we see manifest that may or may not be there. And so for us to know that if you've been given this vision to do this thing, because again, we have to have some kind of perception of what it is we want, whatever we think we're going to do or why we do it. y- You very likely have the skills to do that thing. And so I really wish we could figure out a way to eradicate imposter syndrome. But the very first thing oftentimes that I have to do with my clients is mindset. And honestly, Michelle, I didn't think that was like, yeah, we may do that every single time. It's mindset. And it's that deprogramming of the programming that we receive somehow, some way that we don't have what it takes to do the thing. And so that is the one thing that before you make that leap, reconcile that, whatever it is, whether you need therapy, whether you need to journal, whether you need to work with a coach, whatever it is, reconcile that because it's going to show up in different ways. It shows up in how you price. That is the dollars and cents of it, right? If you don't believe, it's going to be difficult for you to articulate your value, whatever that looks like for you. So I think that's one of the things is reconcile, deal with that feeling of not being worthy, not being skilled enough, not knowing enough, not, all of that, I think is a thing that it would behoove you to work through that before you take that leap. Because then when everything else is kind of reliant on you, it's still there. So if you can deal with it before you take that leap, I think that would serve you well.
That is absolutely phenomenal. And for people that do want to work with you because they're hearing you talk about coaching, where would they connect with you?
So my website is her-mind.ai. And on that site, you can reach out to me there. And so I'd be happy to, talk with someone. You can, book a call with me. It is a complimentary call. We can just chat and see what you're up to or what you'd like to be up to.
And ladies, I have booked calls with Trudy and chatted with her frequently, and it is a gold mine, absolute gold mine of experience and expertise wrapped in care and concern for your betterment. So please do reach out to her. Absolutely phenomenal asset to have her in your corner.
Oh, thank you.
Trudy, it's been fantastic to have you again. I love it. And thank you so much for helping me dive into this Founders series.
No, thank you so much. I'm always happy to be here. And again, if you call, I will answer.
You've been listening to Empowered by AI, and I'm your host, Michelle Muncy Silva. If something from this episode clicked, don't let it stop here. Take one idea and try it out this week. And if you want to go deeper, head over to the Empowered by AI, the Slay Effect YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, and join us there so you don't miss out on what's coming next. All the links and resources are in the show notes. I'll see you next time.